Well, good morning, my friends. How are you? Who did I miss? You've had a lot of chatting to do this morning. Woo, my goodness. What a tangled web Bear has created. My goodness, it's been almost 4 years since Suzanne's homicide. I don't know about you guys, but what came out from the autopsy didn't exactly shock the shit out of me. You know? I never for a minute. Well, actually, I never for a minute thought that they would find her body. But I never thought she was in Ecuador with Jeff. I never thought that Bear was running all over the house, shooting chipmunks. It's been almost 7 months since they found her body, and hey, I'm the last to know, let me tell you. I thought that autopsy was way done. And then here it came out, and it confirmed what we've been talking about for almost 4 years. How bad do you have to resent someone, pissed off, whatever you want to call it, to make them go bye-bye on Mother's Day? What the hell? Gay Lee has been a member for 12 months. Good morning to you, sweetheart. Well, you know what today is? It is hump day. Hopefully no chipmunks get in your way today. Damn, just imagine those killer chipmunks all around your house. Let's take a second. You know the routine for hump day.
Oh, guess what day it is? Guess what day it is? Huh? Anybody? Julie, hey, guess what day it is? Oh, come on, I know you can hear me. Mike. What day is it, Mike? Leslie, guess what today is?
It's hump day.
Woohoo! And guess who's got his pink on? The one and only, our mascot, OJ.
On Wednesdays, we wear pink.
No. Not really my sort of thing.
Not really my sort of thing. Ilyonka said, why is it only Brooks's live that YouTube throttles my stream? Just my luck, my friends. Just my luck. You're all looking fetch today. Who's got their pink on? Happy hump day to all of you. We have almost made it to Friday. Ooh, right out of the bat. Debbie, all Barry wanted was her money. I believe that. Because when she texted him on May 8th and said, I don't want to continue with you anymore. I have seen over the last almost 4 years, and mind you, we have not done many shows about Suzanne on this channel. We have had many conversations about Suzanne and the Crime Lines and Lies Facebook group. You know, Bear, he's had quite a good life with the money from Suzanne's family. Not saying old Bear hasn't made his own living. Not saying that at all. I have seen some comments over the years, especially when it came out about Jeff, who in my opinion, Jeff is one of the biggest cowards in the world. Because when she went missing, he should have reached right out to the authorities in Salida, Colorado Bureau of Investigation, something. And he should have told them, I have been in a entanglement with Suzanne for quite a while. And this is all I know. but he didn't. Their affair was so well hidden that it took authorities a long time to find out who he was, and he didn't say a word. He didn't want to be a suspect. He didn't want to be involved. He didn't want to lose his wife, didn't want to lose his job. So we can say this about Suzanne. She doesn't know how to pick them. But when I see comments saying, well, she did cheat on Barry. What? What? So you get a divorce. She already told Barry. She already told old Bear, I don't want to be with you anymore. I'm not happy. She had survived cancer. And a lot of people, when they have faced death, they take a different inventory on their lives and decide what is more important. And to her, old Bear was just some baggage she didn't need. Didn't want to be with him anymore. Girls are grown. They're doing their own thing. As we know, they have 100% taken their dad's side. I'm not saying they don't love their mother, but they believe this mess he's spilling. And his attorney is spilling it too. Look at this. This is from his attorney. Bear is innocent, and he could not have killed his wife, said Jane Fisher, one of Bear's attorneys. She got up the morning of Mother's Day, had her cup of coffee. That is now confirmed with the autopsy report. Also confirmed with the autopsy report is that she put on her bike clothes. She was on a bike and abducted. Woo! Really? The tranquilizer that was found in her bones allegedly is a very common animal tranquilizer that can be used on farms or by hunters, which are people who are very prevalent in that area of Salida. Mark me safe from animal tranquilizers today, because we know that the FBI has been heavily assisting the Colorado Bureau of Investigation and Salida, and they know that he was running all over that house. And she's pumped full of what's called BAM. That's all the different tranquilizers in her system. So before we get to what came out, let's go through the timeline. Por favor.
Of this story in May of 2020, when Suzanne Morphew first disappeared. It's been so many years. Here's a timeline of how this all happened.
2 months into the pandemic, in May 2020, court documents show that Suzanne...
Why they always have to bring up the pandemic? Why do these media people? They can never get off the COVID dick. Everything is related to COVID. 2 months after the pandemic. Is it the pandemic? Or is it Bear and his tranquilizer gun, which, by the way, we know he has one. Confirmed. Confirmed. A dart was found in their washing machine. So you're telling me that the lone tranquilizer dart person that just happened to come across Suzanne on the bike trail shot her up with darts and then went and put the dart in the washing machine? What? What? What's going on here? Come on.
Morphew sent a text to her husband indicating she wanted to civilly end their relationship. Days later, May 10th, 2020, Morphew went for a bike ride on Mother's Day. It was the last time she was seen. Law enforcement found Morphew's bicycle down a steep ravine off Chaffee County Road 225 from Highway 50, but deputies said the bike didn't look like it had been involved in a crash, and no blood was found nearby. 12 days later, investigators were honing in on her husband, Barry Morphew, and along with the FBI and CBI, Chaffee County Sheriff's deputies scoured his job site near Salida. In a search of the Morphew home that month, law enforcement.
You know, everyone in this country has rights until law enforcement has what's called a probable cause to put pressure on those rights. When they start digging around at your job site and going through your bank accounts, and they want to see your cell phone, that means they have a high suspicion that you were doing a little bit more than chasing chipmunks that day. He tried to set up a bike abduction. He tried to say mountain lions got her. Mountain lions, chipmunks. We've heard everything in this case except for Eduardo from the Gannon Stout case. I was looking for a good old Eduardo to sneak in.
Enforcement found a tranquilizer gun and accessories. Between June and October of 2020, law enforcement, friends, and family conducted multiple community searches and held vigils for Suzanne. Then, nearly 1 year after her disappearance, law enforcement arrested Barry Morphew, charging him with first-degree murder, tampering with a human body, and other offenses.
And had that district attorney not been so, if she didn't have such political aspirations and had not been in such a hurry. Now, we know over the years we've come across some DAs, I would say like in the Summer Wells case, they don't seem to be too aggressive. When we see those that are overly aggressive, I got to take pause, because she was way over aggressive. She had to drop the charges. The charges were dropped in 2022, just as Bear was about to go to trial, after a judge barred prosecutors from presenting most of their key witnesses, citing their failure to follow the rules for turning over evidence in his favor. They didn't even let the defense know what they were going to present. I haven't even spent a minute in law school, and I know that you have to show all your cards. This is not the movie My Cousin Vinny. Hell, My Cousin Vinny could have done a better job than this DA. This is what happens when they want to be attorney general. Oh, I can show them how it's done. I can show them how it's done. I don't need a body. I can put all this together for them. Well, now it's going to be prosecuted by the CBI. You lost your turn.
But nearly a year later, just as Barry Morphew was set to go to trial, prosecutors dropped the charges against him after a judge barred them from presenting most of their key witnesses, citing their failure to follow rules and turn over evidence. That evidence included DNA from an unknown man linked to sex assault cases in other states. Last spring, Morphew's attorney requested the prosecution be investigated for misconduct, filing a complaint that accused them of withholding evidence. Morphew also filed a $15 million federal lawsuit, claiming his constitutional rights were violated. The suit is still pending. Then in September,
the only legal action right now on Bear's side is he does have that $15 million suit, and it is going through because it is known and it is proven that the DA did some nasty things. And as far as the DNA found in the car, that's a guy that worked at one of the local shops. But ding, 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 it is reasonable doubt. It just takes one. It just takes one to say, well, what if it was that guy? What if it was him? What if it wasn't Bear? Bear seems like a nice guy to me. I saw him. He put up $1 million for his wife. It might not be Bear. It might be that mechanic guy.
September of last year, investigators found human remains in remote central Colorado, more than 40 miles south of where Suzanne Morphew lived. 5 days after that, the CBI confirmed they were Morphew's remains.
The attorney for Barry Morphew and his 2 adult daughters told the AP today that the dart gun found inside their house was not working when Suzanne disappeared, and Barry did not possess the tranquilizers used in the darts. The family's attorney says the coroner's findings suggest that Suzanne Morphew was abducted, drugged, and killed by someone else. The firm released this statement on behalf of the family that says, in part, the Morphews have prayed the authorities would remove their blinders and not only find Suzanne, but find the suspect responsible for her disappearance and murder. Let's take a step back to the beginning of this story in May of 2020, when Suzanne was and killed by someone else. The firm released this statement.
All right. Okay. I'll play along. I'll play with Bear and his adult daughters, who I think should be advocating a lot more for their mother, but I digress. Can just imagine what the girls are going through. They've lost their mother. They have found out about issues between their parents. They have one parent, and that's Bear, and so they're hanging on to him for dear life. The Morphews have prayed the authorities would remove their blinders and not only find Suzanne, but find the suspect responsible for her disappearance and murder. Who'd have thunk it? The day aside, Bear's tranquilizer gun wasn't working. Who'd have thunk it? Also, his cameras weren't working. What? What do we say all the time? In these cases, coincidence is evidence. Did he try to use the tranq gun that day? And that's how he knows? Really? So the day of his wife's homicide, and 2 days after she told him she's ready to split the sheets, the tranq gun's not working. I don't know how many of you are avid hunters in here and have a tranq gun. If you do any big game hunting, how do you even test it? I mean, I don't know. How convenient. How convenient. And again, nothing from the autopsy surprised me. Let's go through it.
Thank you for joining us this noon. I'm Erica Lopez. Right now, we're following breaking news in one of the most high-profile murder cases in the state. An autopsy released today shows Suzanne Morphew's cause of death is homicide. The mom of 2 went missing in Chaffee County in 2020, and her remains were discovered 3 years later. Now, News reporter Mark Sounder has been following the case since the beginning and joins us now with these breaking details. Hey, Mark.
Hey, Erica. The report from the coroner's office says Suzanne Morphew had several sedatives and tranquilizers found in her bones. They're drugs that would usually be used to tranquilize animals. That's a major development in this case because prosecutors have alleged for years that her husband, Barry Morphew, shot her with a tranquilizer before killing her. Barry Morphew was arrested in 2021 while his wife was still missing. Then the murder charges against him.
Okay, they have gone through his movements all around the house. When asked about what the hell were you doing? Were you jogging in your own house? Let's see, like my phone, because I can see chat on my phone. I can't always see it on StreamYard. It's sitting right next to me. So if the FBI decided to go through my phone, they would know that my phone hasn't moved. Now, it takes a very long time to do this test. Bears was all over the house. And they now know that she was shot full of tranquilizers.
victim were dropped just days before the case was set to go to trial. At this point, Barry is a free man and is not facing any charges. The autopsy report confirms that Suzanne was found with her bike clothing in a shallow grave in Saguache County. Investigators believe that she went on a bike ride on Mother's Day of 2020 and never returned. Barry's attorneys spoke.
Okay, it says, based on the information provided me at the time of this report, it is my opinion that Suzanne Morphew, a 52-year-old adult, white female, died as a result of homicide by unspecified means in the setting of BAM, intoxication. We're going to talk more about these different sedatives and tranquilizers. These drugs are marketed as a compounded injectable chemical immobilizer for wildlife, providing pharmacologically reversible analgesia, sedation, and immobilization. She did have the bike clothes on. Supposedly, she was actually seen on her bike ride. How do we know? They'll get to it. She didn't come home. She's got the bike clothes on. She goes to get her a Gatorade or whatever to rehydrate herself. Kicks off her shoes because she had no shoes on. And here we go. Chipmunk time. Somebody get rid of Rapper. There is nothing funny about Rapper. We've been trying to be nice. And this is just stupid.
Only to 9 News this morning. They're defending him, saying he's innocent, arguing that anyone could have shot her with a tranquilizer.
Barry Morphew is innocent, and he could not have killed his wife. She got up the morning of Mother's Day, had her cup of coffee. That is now confirmed with the autopsy report. Also confirmed with the autopsy report was that she put on her bike clothes, and we know where the bike was found. So she was on a bike ride and abducted. The tranquilizer that was found in her bones, allegedly, is a very common animal tranquilizer that could be used on farms or by hunters, which are people that are very prevalent in that area in Salida.
I'll tell you what, some of these defense attorneys, they have more imaginations than brains. Okay, they do. Like in the case we talked about on Friday, about the drunk bitch up in Michigan. They're like, oh, no, she wasn't drunk. She had leg seizures. Yet now we have a video of her getting out of the car. Seriously. But hey, if it works on one, all you have to do is convince one to lock a jury, right? So if that's what you want to do, have at it.
Barry's attorney also tells us that a bullet was found in the shallow grave near the town of Moffett, where Suzanne was located. At this point, we don't know where the case goes from here, though. The Colorado Bureau of Investigation confirms they continue to investigate, though they won't say if there is currently a suspect or suspects in this case, Erica.
And that's kind of the big question top of mind. We were just chatting about this in the break. Of course, this is a really big deal. Is Barry a suspect? Does this bring him back into the picture, Mark?
I asked Barry's attorneys this morning, is Barry a suspect, point blank? And they said they don't know. They haven't been told yes or no whether he's a suspect. An interesting part of this, the coroner's office gave Barry and his daughters the opportunity to go get Suzanne's remains and bring them home. I'm told by his attorneys that his attorneys told him, don't do that. We don't know if you're still a suspect in this case.
Wow.
At this point, her remains are still at the coroner's office.
Okay, certainly some questions. I know you're going to continue to break this down throughout the day on 9 News at 4, 5, and 6.
Exactly.
All right,
we'll
Mark,
busy.
thank you so much. We really appreciate you. All lanes of southbound I-25.
Of course he's still a suspect. Of course he is. And let's talk about that, because unless something has changed since yesterday, let me put it this way. He is suspected. I've got to do this the YouTube TOS way. He is suspected.
Developments today in one of Colorado's best-known unsolved killings. An autopsy outlined how Suzanne Morphew died, and our Mark Salinger learned that the troubled district attorney has been taken off the case.
My name is Linda Stanley. I'm the district attorney for the 11th Judicial District.
It's been almost 3 years since District Attorney Linda Stanley brought charges against Barry Morphew.
You know, when she brought charges against Barry, Bear, I was like, you go, girl. You go, girl. You must have a lot to bring this to trial. Without a cause of death, without a body, you must have a lot. All she had to do, and again, I'm not an attorney, is go for continuance after continuance after continuance. But she didn't. She withheld evidence from the DA. I mean, not from the DA, from the defense. Well, good luck. Good luck now. She has damaged this case. And he has an ongoing suit for violating his constitutional rights, which I hate to say it, he's got a case. Who's hating in here, y'all? What's going on? Seems that Hump Day's not agreeing with some people. What is going on around here? Woo! Britt said she should lose her dang job. Uh-huh. Yeah.
Accusing him of killing his wife, Suzanne. 3 years later, no one has been convicted, the case is still open, and now Stanley will no longer be the lead prosecutor. The Colorado Bureau of Investigation tells us the district attorney in Saguache County, Ann Kelly, will handle the case moving forward, including any prosecution.
Since the remains were found, we have been asking whether or not Linda Stanley is involved anymore in this case as a prosecutor or in any way, shape, or form.
Jane Fisher Byrie-Ellison is an attorney representing Barry Morphew. Barry's murder charges were dropped by DA Stanley just days before the case was set for trial last year. In the months since, Stanley has been accused of hiding evidence from defense attorneys and launching a secret investigation into the judge's family.
Do you trust Linda Stanley to find the real killer?
No. I do not trust Linda Stanley to find the real killer.
A new prosecutor will take over the case after Suzanne's remains were found last year in Saguache County, just outside of Moffett. Today, we learn new evidence investigators will use in the case. An autopsy report confirms Suzanne died in a homicide. Tests found she had sedatives and tranquilizers in her bones, usually used on animals. That's important. For years now, investigators have alleged that Barry shot his wife with a tranquilizer before killing her after he found out she was having an affair. The plastic cap of a tranquilizer was found at the Morphew house after Suzanne went missing. Speaking only to 9 News today, Barry's attorney says anyone could have shot the tranquilizer.
The tranquilizer that was found in her bones.
Anybody? Anybody could have done it? Well, we know Bear's tranquilizer gun wasn't working that day. Okay, so it can't be anybody because, well, I don't have a tranquilizer gun. Slim doesn't have one. I don't think Dina has one. Just me. Do you have a tranquilizer gun? YouTuber? Salt and Cayenne? Mermaid? They said anybody. Anybody. Chloe doesn't have one. Anybody could have done it. We're not talking about a steak knife. Everyone's got a knife around their house. We're talking about a tranquilizer gun. But look at Dum Dum here, who is the poster girl for lip injections. God, she needs them. Anybody could have done it. Anybody. Anybody. I don't think so. No lips. No way.
Allegedly, is a very common animal tranquilizer that could be used on farms or by hunters, which are people that are very prevalent in that area in Salida.
Details that a new prosecutor will have to investigate.
We have no idea whether investigators have any suspects in this case right now. Barry's attorneys asked whether he is a suspect still, but they were not told yes or no. A couple of weeks ago, the coroner allowed Barry to take Suzanne's remains home. He was advised by his attorneys not to, and they are still with the coroner.
What a mess. Okay, so this DA, Linda Stanley, still in office, not on this case. What's next for her?
Correct. She is not leading the case. That is now Ann Kelly in the 12th Judicial District. Linda Stanley, however, does have a case coming up, her own, in front of the Supreme Court. That trial is expected to start in June, whether or not she'll keep her law license, because there were so many complaints of how she handled this specific Morphew case.
You've been on it every step of the way, Mark. Thank you.
Every step of the way. Let me tell you what. I'll tell you who hasn't been on every step of the way, and that's the DA that got into a hurry. I think she has damaged this case very badly. It is just my opinion and my opinion only. They are going to be very skittish to prosecute Bear now, because he does have a lawsuit for $15 million because his constitutional rights were violated. I'm not saying Bear is a good guy. I'm not saying that the chipmunks exist. I am saying that the fact that the DA, the person that was in charge of prosecuting his ass, withheld key witnesses and evidence from the defense, he was violated. Just because they sent his ass home the week before doesn't mean it wasn't violated. I'm telling you, friends, they're going to have to find a real sharp cookie to do this. It is sick. And we've been hearing about the tranquilizer and the chipmunks for years. So this isn't a new thing. Let's go through an FBI agent that weighed in on it a long time ago.
Details about a missing Colorado mother's possible final moments have emerged in court. Last week, prosecutors began laying the groundwork for their case against 53-year-old Barry Morphew, who is charged with the first-degree murder of his wife, Suzanne Morphew. The 49-year-old woman was reported missing after going on a Mother's Day bike ride in May of 2020. Her body has not been found, but she is presumed dead. According to local news outlets, during the second day of a 4-day preliminary hearing to determine whether Barry would stand trial for allegedly killing Suzanne, now retired FBI agent John Grusing testified that investigators found a tranquilizer cap in the dryer at the couple's home where they lived with their daughters. Investigators also claimed that on May 9th, the day before Suzanne was reported missing, phone records and data from Barry's truck indicate that he returned home at 2:44 p.m. as Suzanne was in the backyard sunbathing. Barry allegedly told the agent that he shot chipmunks after he got home, but Grusing testified that he believes Barry did something to Suzanne, and that data showing Barry moving around their home that afternoon was actually Barry chasing her around the house. CBS Denver reports that the defense dismissed the theory as pure speculation. According to Fox 21 News and KDVR, investigators said that they believed Barry got rid of evidence in the early hours of May 10th, and that data shows his truck in the same area where Suzanne's bike had later been found. He then allegedly went to the town of Broomfield, where he had a construction job, and allegedly made 5 trash runs. During the last trash run, which the FBI has on video, Barry said he threw away tranquilizer material. Investigators also said he changed his shirt.
He was seen on camera. He threw away tranquilizer material. Cherie said, I wonder about the ethnicity of using a tranquilizer dart to hunt. Well, my uncle, he went on a big game adventure. I believe it was in Colorado. And it was actually a guided one. And listen, not to sound like Candace Wells, scared of the bears, scared of the elk, scared of the moose. There's some animals that are pretty dangerous. And you shoot them with your pew-pew, it's only going to piss them off. So you take the tranquilizer as not a hunting tool, but a safety tool. Does that make more sense? Because they were like, now his was just on his belt. So if you miss and you piss off the bear or whatever, hit him with this. It'll put him to sleep. They go night-night. But tranquilizers are not for us. Unless, of course, used in a hospital setting.
3 times during those runs. In addition to the murder charge, Barry is also charged with tampering with physical evidence and attempt to influence a public servant. He has not entered a plea and is currently being held in the Chaffee County Detention Center.
Well, he's not now. He's not now. I don't know if our friend Angel P is busy right now, but I'm going to drop the link because for this next segment of our program, I'm going to need someone that has medical background and not me. So, I mean, people in here arguing, going, well, my papa never used a tranquilizer, or my daddy never used one. Look, I'm just saying, some people take them for their own safety. That's really not the point. I give a rat's ass about what Barry is doing out there. I really don't care. I don't care. I care about what went on in the house. We know he had a tranquilizer gun. We know that a dart was found in the dryer. I have to correct myself. It was not in the washer. We know that he was throwing away evidence on airplane mode. So if your family member didn't take one, I don't know what to tell you. Old Bear had one. Let's bring up our friend Angel P. Girlfriend, how are you doing today?
Well, I'm doing good today. How are you, girl?
Oh, good. We had more storms last night. It's really pissing me off. I'm probably never going to get this damn yard mowed, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to go through this. You have worked in many a hospital setting. I should probably go through it first. Explain what is BAM. And I don't mean Barry Morphew.
Okay, you've lost me, honey. I don't know what you're saying. Explain what?
Well, let's go through it first. And it's the sedatives that were found in her system.
I gotcha. Okay.
The live stream here, the comments coming in. I am grateful that everyone's treating this with respect. It's not an easy case. Just for those who don't know, Suzanne, wow, that got really big really fast. Suzanne was found missing on Mother's Day in 2020. Her body was found, and an autopsy report finally, this many years later, showed a really, really bizarre set of tranquilizer chemicals in her body. It's called BAM. What a terrible acronym, right? It's a potent tranquilizer. See more photos. This is a real person. Sometimes in medicine, we say, oh, 47-year-old woman, 58-year-old man, 12-year-old boy. We don't recognize these are human beings we're talking about who have real lives. She's a mother of 2, has a husband, and beyond the scope of our talk today about specifically what the tranquilizers were that were found in her body, but her husband was suspected of being the killer. And I will say, this recent autopsy finding doesn't necessarily support the cause. Now, I'm not here to comment one way or the other, of course, but we're going to talk about, you're going to learn about what BAM is, how it's different than overdosing on anesthetics here that we use in the operating room in humans, and specifically what is.
I like how he said in humans, but this was animal grade. Obviously, Bear or the secret person in the woods they want to say did this can't go to the hospital and get the sedatives.
Absolutely not. That would all have to come from a veterinarian. That's right. That's exactly right.
And there are hunting stores, I will say, like around here where you can get different sedatives if you are hunting, let's say, a boar hog. You can't just
Yeah.
go in and say, give me some of that. Heard my wife's leaving me, sent me a text. She's got a boyfriend named Jeff. They went to Louisiana and I want all her money. Doesn't work that way. You have to have a specific need for it.
Yeah, I'm real curious about where he got all that stuff out.
Well, you can get him around where you are. You can say, hey, we have some bears around here, and I don't feel it's ethical for me to kill an animal. So I want to tranquilize them and wait for the game hunter to come get them.
Sure.
It's way more common than people think. But my God, I think about all the points all around their house, and it's a big house, beautiful house in Salida, Colorado. And all of his movements all over that house, it looks like he was hunting her.
Yes, yes. It looked like he was chasing her. It sure did. And, they found one of those, what do you call it, from the injector, like not a syringe, but you know what I'm talking about in animal world. They found one of those
a dart.
cartridges. Yes, they found that in the laundry in Mallory's bedroom. Which makes no sense because Mallory wasn't there and her sheets were the ones that was in the washer. I think that he was chasing her all over that house. I really do.
Oh, I think so.
And I can't imagine the terror,
I forgot about the one they found in Mallory's room. I remember because this has gone on for 4 years. I do know about the one in the washer or the dryer, but his tranquilizer gun wasn't working that day.
Yeah, right.
Okay?
Yeah, right.
Come on. You've got to be kidding me. Had a broken door jam where somebody had broken to a door. You can tell she was trying to get away from someone. And I'm going to guess that someone is probably the one and only Bear Bear. Because he was pissed. It's not about Suzanne. He was barely there for her when she had cancer. Hence why I think she leaned on Jeff so much. Speaking of, here is Jeff. I'm not going to let Jeff just go. Jeff, old high school boyfriend that she reconnected with, probably because she felt so lonely through her cancer diagnosis, she reached out to him. Her text to him was, hey, stranger. And they went from there.
See, I think that he came home or something and caught her doing something, like maybe talking on the phone to somebody. And I think that he initially shot her with in the backyard. And the first one didn't come, the first one may have slowed her down a little bit. And then he started chasing her. Not sure at which point she ended up in Mallory's bedroom, but the fact that she was at college and you washed her sheets at that time didn't make any sense. And that's where they found that.
The two girls were on a camping trip on Mother's Day weekend. He said he was working, but we know he was home. He took her to lunch on Saturday. They were seen out and about as a happy couple. She tells him on Friday, she texts him, done with you, Bear Bear. Now, she was taking selfies of herself to send to Jeff. I've often wondered, did he walk in on that and said, I don't have no pictures on my phone. You told me you were with me on Friday.
Right.
So what's going on here? And Jeff could have helped this investigation immensely. He was nowhere near Colorado. But he took the coward's way out and he kept his mouth shut. Matter of fact, he put a new spark in his own marriage. became father of the year, whining and dining the wife.
That's horrible.
Why did you not call and say, I know Suzanne, and listen, some things have gone on in the recent months. But oh no, they had to track him down. He didn't want to lose his family, didn't want to lose his job, didn't want to have issues with his kids, didn't want to have issues with his wife, which tells me all of the back and forth between him and Suzanne was nothing but a facade. He never had any intention of leaving his family for her.
I agree.
Sick.
Absolutely.
Back to Bam. Sorry about my tangent.
Now, so much more suspicious in the husband's case here. Well, in short, he was found to have a tranquilizer gun. It wasn't working, supposedly, not functional. But when Suzanne went missing that Mother's Day, when she was going on a bike ride, well, very tragic about what happened and why was there BAM in her body? Well, the B in BAM stands for butorphanol. It's funny because butorphanol is actually used in humans as well.
Okay, let's start with that. What is Stadol and how is it used? I have a feeling I cannot pick that up at my local Walgreens, nor would I want to.
No, ma'am. That's a medication that they do frequently give in anesthesia. And also, if you've ever been in surgery before and you're like, oh my God, I'm so nervous about, that little time period right when you're in pre-op. And like for me, myself, I forget which surgery I was having, but I started getting nervous. And so I started crying. And so they gave me a little bit of that medication. It also, it's given, how anesthesia is, it's poison actually that's given into our system at a controlled certain amount that doesn't, go too far. But Stadol is frequently used also. Let's say somebody has had surgery and they've been taking a lot of narcotics. Stadol will also help alleviate pain, and then usually after surgery, the doctor will change the pain medication to something different than what you were taking before. So I don't know if that makes a whole lot of sense, but that's my experience with Stadol.
Okay. That's why we need you up here. Besides the fact you're awesome.
Oh.
Some people take it for migraines, and they use it for horses.
Absolutely. Yep.
They use it a lot for horses when they're trying to break them.
Yes. It kind of gives you a altered perception of reality, for a better way of saying it. It may make you a little bit sleepy, the way they give it to you, but it kind of makes you feel like you're in La La Land, for lack of a better way of putting it.
And many people are asking, did they own horses? No, but wild horses are very prevalent in their area. So somebody could have said, oh yeah, you guys have a lot of horses around there, so I'm going to give that to you. And then you can call the park ranger or whatever you call them, and they can get them off your land. So for people saying, well, that's not how you hunt. That's not how you hunt. I get it. We're not talking about bear hunting. We're talking about the big H, homicide.
But this BAM, which is the combination of B and two other chemicals, is used in big animals like horses, in piggies that we'll talk about, and even in lions. So the question is, the butorphanol, it's also called Stadol when used in humans. We actually don't use it much at all anymore. I've never prescribed it to a patient. It's a really old opioid, and it's reversed by naloxone. It's going to cause respiratory depression, and certainly it's going to have a sedative effect when injected at high enough doses. You probably know about that one. The next is the Zapparone. This is very different. We don't use this in human beings.
Now, I don't expect Angel to know about this one, because this one is definitely, as he's saying, as Dr. Doogie Howser is saying, because he looks very, very young. He looks about my son's age. He's saying this is used in animals. So my thoughts are Bear got this cocktail of hell definitely from a hunting type of place. We damn sure know he didn't go to a doctor.
Absolutely.
This medication, the A in BAM, that Doogie's talking about, is used a lot in Oklahoma when you're trying to get wild boar away. Mainly they want you to kill them, but their skin is so tough, a bullet will just bounce off of them, unless you're a really good shot and you know exactly where to aim. Snow has a question for you. Did she suffer?
Well, some of these, everybody has seen, like somebody shoot a deer with something, or maybe everybody has seen that. Basically, it's just going to slow you down. Like this medication also, is got like a sedative effect. So if you can imagine trying to get away from somebody and, basically being slowed down to where your body is wanting to not go as fast as you want it to go. I'm just mortified by it. They use this stuff for elephants. Okay. Can you imagine?
God. Well, and I've been reading a lot about this stuff, Dr. Google, and they say it just causes immobility. And sometimes you're fully awake, but you can't move. Do you know anything about that?
Yeah. Yeah, because of its work on the in your brain, the neurological effects of it. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? I can't imagine anything more terrifying than being unable to move and seeing, the monster coming at me. It's not really a paralytic agent, but it does,
Uh-oh, we lost Angel. Snow said that the worst possible thing to do to someone. Well, almost. But I just couldn't imagine being basically trapped in your own body. Knowing. I was really hoping that she went to sleep. And I don't mean it in the bad way. And didn't even realize what was going on. But as he's chasing her around the house, it's going to tell me one thing about Bear. He's not a good shot. Okay, he's not. Because there was nicks in the wall where you could tell he was pulling those darts out. He was missing quite a bit. And so then all this chipmunk chasing, according to him, suddenly slowed down. It means to me, common sense thinking, it's because she was losing her rhythm, if you know what I mean.
Oh,
she couldn't move. She can't run from him anymore. She's probably like she has like cement legs. She's trying to push one after another.
Yeah. Yeah, because a lot of times when they use this, like say you've got an animal that's getting real aggressive or something. Well, kind of like up in the Smokies when they've caught some bears up at some of the real common trails that people use, and they use this kind of dart. It would like sedate them. It also has a secondary effect of being where it makes you not sick to your stomach, so it can be an antiemetic in small doses. But like if you were, trying to remove an aggressive animal away, this is a perfect thing to use because it kind of knocks them down. And that was given in combination with the other two, correct?
Yes, and what I'm reading on Dr. Google is true. I didn't even try to venture out to WebMD. They said that you're screaming but can't scream.
Yeah, that's like a nightmare.
Goodness. Now the question is, can these 3 medications in the tranquilizer gun that whoever had, because Bear Bears was at work in that day, could they kill her?
I think that probably yes, in the combination that they were given. I think that she slowly went to sleep, probably.
It's a dopamine antagonist, which puts it in the same class of medications like haloperidol or Haldol or metoclopramide. So similarly, just how Reglan, what we use here in the operating room, can help reduce nausea, so can this dopamine antagonist. So can, for that matter, haloperidol at low doses. It also has the anticholinergic, meaning anticholine, anti-acetylcholine, and antihistamine properties. But its main effects probably come from a combination of these three. Now, it's actually used in pigs quite frequently to help with calmness so that they can accept new piglets into their, I don't know what a group of piggies is called, but you can imagine having a calming effect in an otherwise aggressive individual. It's like when we use it in the emergency room. And remember, we do use haloperidol in the emergency room to calm combative patients. It's interesting that we are giving piggies this medication, and then human beings are eating piglets. Have you ever wondered this? I'm actually curious.
Okay. I don't want to hear about, his take. I think Doogie's great, but I don't want to hear about his take on medications that are given to our pork that we ingest. I agree with Heather. You survive cancer, by the way, more than once. And the next thing you know, supposedly, you get attacked on Mother's Day by Alvin and the fucking Chipmunks. This did not happen.
That's ridiculous.
In the comments here, I'm looking at you guys live. Hey, Jessica, I see you there. Who here has heard? Who here knows that our animal consumption, or I'm trying to say the meat that we eat, acutely intoxicated with methamphetamines, maybe with cocaine, no, not so much. You give it to them IV or in a shot, very, very low doses, hopefully will calm them down. Though if you use these medications for extended periods of time, even things like metoclopramide, you can have tardive dyskinesias. So I don't want to get out of the veterinary thing, but because so many of you listening have struggled with gastroparesis or other conditions for which you might be taking metoclopramide or Reglan, you got to know that these can have permanent side effects involving tardive dyskinesias, meaning those weird mouth movements that maybe you've seen people who've taken antipsychotics for very long periods of time have those weird facial tics and those funny movements with their lips and tongue. So they come from antipsychotics, and this is one of them. And if you are learning something new, hey, hit the like button and share what you've learned with others. And remember that you can always join our exclusive access for our private.
I do want to know, because I'm very uneducated in this. Do you think because all three of these medications, besides the heavy legs, the immobility, all three of them, Doogie mentioned that they slow your respiratory system?
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. Because they're going to affect your central nervous system. And so, in your hypothalamus in your brain, back in the back, that's where our respiratory center is to regulate our body functions, such as temperature, breathing. So, yes, that would exactly what happened. I'm just worried about, I don't know, I don't really know myself if the combination of the three, you got to ask yourself, okay, if she was moving all over the house like that, the way I see it is I'm thinking that he did one, and then he did two, and then he did three. So I don't know if it was like a slow process for her where she eventually just went to sleep, or, she just quit breathing.
That's
suddenly.
Because, the autopsy didn't really give a clear understanding, but it's preliminary as well. They might have more studies to do. The coroner still has Suzanne. This says people also ask, what is a BAM tranquilizer? It's a combination of, I can't pronounce any of these, and it has shown good efficiency for immobilization of wildlife, including black bears, elk, big animals, because you don't want to kill them. And so it immobilizes them, and the people that know where to put them, they can do it. I have a really good friend. She has a nonprofit foundation. It's called the Wild Heart Ranch in Oklahoma. She has quite a few tranquilizers to sedate animals, whether it's for they're getting too aggressive or they need to have surgery. But this BAM was not made for Suzanne, and that's what was found in her system. I'm sure you can pronounce these names.
Let me see if I can say it. Okay, butorphanol. Let me see if I can say it. Azaparone. Oh boy. And I can't say the last one good. Medetomid. Wait a minute. That's generic. Medetomidine. That's the best I can do on that one.
And I'm just going to take a guess. Suzanne looks very petite to me.
That's right.
Just going to guess. Uneducated. Want to deal with Dr. Google on this. That what you need to put wildlife down would probably kill Suzanne. There's a big difference between 120 pounds and pushing 500.
Absolutely. And he knew that when he used it. And, all that time that her body was, out, I think it says a lot that they found still traces of those 3 chemicals in her body. So, that was just a full strength dose for some type of raging animal.
Well, yeah. They found it in her bone marrow. That's why they said the autopsy took so long, because they weren't just, they found it everywhere. So she got shot up.
Oh, yeah.
That's horrible. I'm going to go back in time because Chris McDonough, I believe this was his first show, and he had Barry on. This is almost 4 years ago, my friends.
Oh, wow.
This is Barry when he gave that half-ass plea to the public saying he was offering $1 million to bring Suzanne back. Well, hell, I can offer $1 million to bring OJ back. Guess what? I don't got $1 million. He could have offered $1 billion. He could have offered anything. That's a pretty safe bet. You'll never have to pay that out. And so sad that he used her money to pay for his own legal defense. He used her inheritance, which I'm kind of old school when it comes to marriage. I believe what's mine is mine and what is Greg's is mine. Okay?
Me too.
If Greg comes into a big inheritance, I'm going to sit there and go, oh, hell. But I'm not going to trank him over it. So let's go back into how to say to Chris McDonough.
Okay.
I can hear this. That has you. Please we'll do whatever it takes to bring you back. We love you. We miss you. Your girls need you. No questions asked. However much they want, I will do whatever it takes to get you back. Honey, I love you.
Does this sound like Chris Watts? Did he have Chris Watts stuff? Because Chris Watts said, I don't care what it takes, no questions asked, I just want him back. Or is this just, do they sell a book and you study it?
Yeah. And I'm going to say something here, interject something, and I'm not victim blaming, but as we all know, when you're in a abusive relationship like this, the most dangerous time is when you tell somebody you want out. I don't know if she never anticipated that he would react that way, but, and I'm not victim blaming, but I wish that she had not told him the way that, I don't know. I wish there was some way she could have gotten away from him and been safer when this happened, is what I'm trying to say.
Oh, you're 100% right. When you're leaving is when it's the most dangerous. I think she believed, I don't know Suzanne, never met her, never had the pleasure. I think about a friend of hers that she confided in quite a bit. And the friend said that Suzanne believed that there's no way he would ever hurt her because without her, there'd be no money. She already knew he was in huge debt with his various businesses. She knew, but she said, he won't do anything to me because without me, he'd have no money. Hence why her daddy got so involved. Her brother got so involved. And this whole, it's just going to go to the girls. Well, that's a sacred trust. He can't get it unless he says to one of the girls, hey, can you give me a loan? I don't know. It's from what I'm understanding, it's still all tied up. But she kind of believed that was her ace in the hole. He's not going to do anything because I've got the money.
I'd be scared he'd get me because of my money.
That's what I was thinking too.
Yeah.
You know, in the two men in her life that she trusted the most both betrayed her. Both Jeff and Barry. Think about it.
Yeah.
The guy that, she, trusted, Jeff. I mean, he didn't as much as call the hotline to say, I might have some information for you. They had to track him down. Barry.
Yeah, that's horrible.
Horrible. And instead, they have to publicly expose him where he could have kept it on the lowdown just to help her. Tells me what he thinks of her. And that's disgusting.
Right now in a Fox 21 special report, the latest on the Chaffee County woman who vanished on Mother's Day.
Suzanne and her family lived in the picturesque small town of Salida, Colorado, in the heart of the Rocky Mountains. The Morphews moved there from Indiana in 2018. Everything appeared normal on the surface with the family, then suddenly, Suzanne vanished. It's reported that sometimes before her disappearance, the 49-year-old wife and mother was communicating with a friend over social media. Then abruptly, that communication ended. Suzanne's husband, Barry, reported to police that on Mother's Day, May 10, 2020, he had left for a job several hours away and left without awakening his wife. When Suzanne's daughters, who were out of town, couldn't reach their mom, they contacted Barry. He asked a neighbor to check the family's home. When the neighbor reported that Suzanne's car was still there, Barry asked the neighbor to see if Suzanne's bike was there, saying she may have gone for a ride. The bike was missing, and authorities were called. During the initial police investigation, the bike and other unknown items were found. Authorities continued to search the mountainous and rugged terrain around the Morphew home days after her disappearance. Multiple search warrants were executed at the home, and reportedly evidence was recovered, but there was no sign of Suzanne. Officials continue to circulate flyers in the area and have received well over 1,000 tips to date. 4 months after Suzanne's disappearance, her brother, Andy Mormon, organized a large-scale search of the Maysville-Salida area that involved 700 volunteers, cadaver dogs, and searchers on horseback.
Thank the heavens for her brother, Andy. Because let me tell you, her brother wasn't buying it. And let's think about it. It's been almost 4 years. And he was on Bear, like white on rice. This was Mother's 2020. And even when her daddy passed away, it mentioned in his obituary about domestic violence. Her daddy knew it. He knew it. And those girls wouldn't have anything to do with their mother's family. They were like, how dare you blame my father? How dare you blame my father? On one hand, I get it. On the other hand, I mean, how do you stay neutral in a situation like this? Your mom is dead. Your mom is gone. Did they believe the whole she went to Ecuador with Jeff story?
I don't understand their position at all. I really don't. I don't know if it's denial and just the fact that one parent's gone, so I've got to have at least one left that I can, have here in my life. But I just don't understand it at all because they supported him throughout the entire trial and still do.
Back. Her husband Barry did not participate in the search, and it's still an ongoing investigation.
One of the first things that you learn as an investigator is a whole bunch of dynamics about behavior. One of the biggest things that you learn is about trust. I've reached out to the Cold Case Foundation, to people that I trust, Greg Cooper and Dean and the team over there, and just asked them to give us a little understanding of, how people think. Guys, what do you think?
Thanks, Chris. When we talk in general about trust, one of the things that I think we can think about is the object lesson of an onion. An onion, if you think about it, has multiple layers, very thin layers, but when they're all brought together, they create one hard, solid mass. When you take that onion away, it's gone. Same way trust is gone. So when you think about building back trust, you have to think of it in terms of those layers of an onion. It's going to take a lot of time and a lot of multiple layers to ever get back to a level of trust. So that's kind of in a general thought what we look at when we're thinking about trust. But Greg, when we think about trust, particularly when we're looking at victims and some of the trust issues that may be there behaviorally, can you kind of speak to that for a moment?
Hey, Chris, good to be with you. Just thought we might cover a couple points about victim.
Wow, how people change in 4 years. These guys look a lot different. I do want to just touch on what they're talking about trust. You might know that the person you're with is a total friggin' bastard. Cheating, spending all your money, drinking too much, cussing you out, whatever. But does it ever resonate with anyone? They're going to kill me. They're going to go buy some BAM and chase me around and call me a chipmunk. No.
Right.
That's what they're getting at. But it is so important to know, if you're ready to leave, you better have an exit plan. And it better not be with the person that you're trying to get away from, because you don't know what's going to trip someone out. And in my opinion, with Bear, it wasn't the girls. It wasn't the house. It certainly wasn't love, because he wasn't there for her through her cancer battles. It was money.
Victimology and trust. When we look at victimology, which is what we refer to as the first filter of profiling, we're trying to gauge a victim's level of risk to becoming a victim of that particular type of crime. And by doing so, depending on whether they're low, medium, or high risk, we get a sense as to the potential relationship between the victim and the offender. And the lower risk the victim, the higher the probability that that victim has high trust relationships, because they associate mostly with people that they know, their family, loved ones, neighbors that they're familiar with, their friends, and they've established, generally speaking, long-term relationships.
So then what would you say, Greg, about the trust level issues of a offender?
Offenders are constantly in a state of awareness, sensitivities to trust that they're attempting to develop with potential victims. even if it's a short period of time. Now that's their manipulation of trying to establish credibility with a potential victim, either on the long-term, long-haul basis, or on a very short-term basis. But in terms of their trust in others, typically they have very low trust because they.
Okay, so he's basically describing a narcissist, saying even if just a short period of time, they're going to gain your trust. I'll be better. I'm sorry. You're right. I shouldn't have done that. Oh my gosh. And then, of course, it goes into how they're the victim.
I'll never do it again.
Never do
It'll
it
never happen again.
Look at all
Sorry.
I do for you. Look at all I do for you. You know, that type of language. You know what I'm talking about?
Absolutely. You know, I think it was stinky from the start, and it made me think, and I'm sorry to change the subject, I'm not really, but, you know, when somebody calls you up and says, I can't get a hold of my spouse, would you go over there and check on them for me? That right there would make my antennas go up. You know, how many cases have we had where somebody says, go check on somebody for me, only to find that something horrible has happened, and they're the ones that found them, when that person that sent them over there is the one that did it.
Yes.
Mm.
But
Mm.
in this case,
Mm.
it was the girls that were on high alert. It wasn't Bear.
Yeah.
The girls called the neighbor, and she realized Suzanne wasn't home. Now, as much as Bear likes to keep the thumb on the family, I mean, hell, he was still reading 'Twas the Night Before Christmas on Christmas Eve to his grown daughters, which I think is cute, don't get me wrong. Did he not notice that Suzanne was taking these days away? It's what a cheater's going to find a way. Okay, they're going to find a way. But
Oh,
when
yeah.
someone has plane tickets and they're gone for multiple days and they don't have no job, aren't you going to wonder what's going on?
Absolutely. Maybe she did have suspicions.
No, I mean him.
Oh,
I mean,
him?
no, I mean
Yeah,
he. Did
I would
he
think
have
he.
suspicions, or did he not give a shit as long as he had the money? I'm on the fence about this.
Yeah, that's a tough one to figure out. Kind of like if I can't have you, nobody will, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Mostly recognize these relationships as temporary. They look at these relationships as what they can get out of these folks, and manipulating them to the point of using them for their own purposes. And that's anything from nuisance types of crimes all the way up to and including, of course, the more serious crimes.
Boy, Dr. Gary is good. He said it's how they're going to use them. It's not about them. It could be about just validation.
Right.
Because he wasn't there for her through her cancers. He wasn't there. She complained to many friends. He doesn't even care that I have cancer. He doesn't even care. But he damn sure cared when it came time to pay the bills or buy tranquilizer guns.
Yeah, that's pretty bad. Ugh. It's traditional. I mean, it is a form of domestic violence with rich people here. I mean, you know, it doesn't discriminate against anybody. That right there is a big red flag to me. You know, you're going through cancer treatments. He's not there. That's just cold.
Yeah. Could you imagine?
No, I wouldn't want that person anymore.
She went for a cancer treatment and, you know, he did take her, but he didn't even sit there. He couldn't even sit there and read some People magazine while she's getting her treatment and bring her back home. She's calling around trying to find people to come get her. She's sick as a dog.
That's horrible.
That's not love.
No.
Sexual assault or even homicide. So typically these folks, they don't have high trust. It's very low trust because they themselves are in a state of manipulation with potential victims and people around them. I think it's very often a projection of their own character into people around them, yet recognizing that they identify weaknesses in potential victims that they will capitalize on and exploit for their own purposes.
If I look at it from that perspective, think about for a moment if I've got maybe a case that's gone from almost what we would classify as kind of a domestic violence scenario that escalates. Would you see any patterns there developing over time in that relationship? If, let's say, your offender and your victim, either are in some type of a relationship, would you see the victim's trust going away even in other relationships as well, if that's constantly kind of going up and down cyclically?
Yeah, within a domestic violence situation, for example, depending on the pattern of that, the dismantling of that relationship, and the length of time that it's taken for the relationship to escalate to the point where an assault occurs, for example. Typically, when you have an abuse cycle, as an example, within a domestic setting, the victim, over a period of time, while initially there may have been a high trust level between the victim and the offender,
100% there was a high trust level. They've been married for umpteen years. They have 2 children together. It never, ever occurred to Suzanne, that he would even think to take their mother from their girls. There they
Yes.
are in better times. Not to mention, he knew she had money coming to her. Don't forget, they had absentee ballots, and he voted on her behalf.
Mm.
Not because he believed she was alive or that he cared about her vote. It's just more of the facade. And Britt, you are so right. Caring for her was an inconvenience to him. However, when it comes to his needs and wants, she then gains values. That's exactly what happened here.
Yes.
He needs something, it's an inconvenience. Other way around. Because this guy was like a kid in a toy store. I need, I want, I need, I want, I need, I want. And I mean, she would just pacify him.
Yeah.
Now, he would take care of her at home when she was sick, but he wasn't going to go out of his way. No, not our bear. No, he had chipmunks to chase.
over a period of time, and a series of escalating events up to and including assaults, whether it be for the first time or a series of assaults that escalate and become more and more violent. That relationship and that level of trust, obviously, as a result of those experiences, it implodes, they become dismantled. And so the victim will attempt to adapt, recognizing within those cycles of abuse the different phases that lead up to an ultimate assault. It's something they become very familiar with. They recognize in the behavior, the verbal and nonverbal behavior of the offender, this cycle of escalation and the stress level that builds within that cycle, anticipating eventually that it's going to happen, and they'll try to do whatever they can to mitigate it, or, in fact, in some cases, not just mitigate it, but escalate it to get it over with. Because the next phase after an assault is what is often referred to as a honeymoon phase, and typically they go back into that relationship where the offender attempts to rebuild a level of confidence and trust through remorse. Now all of a sudden he's very attentive. He's bringing flowers or gifts. And so it just depends on the length of time within a domestic violence situation on how long these things have occurred and what the history is. And typically victims know exactly what's going on with a domestic partner who is engaged in violent activity. They're very sensitive to these cycles and very much aware. And so when they know that cycle begins, in many cases, they want to get through that phase as quickly as possible, get it over with, and bump into the more positive aspects of that cycle.
Well, this has been great. Thanks for your thoughts. And Chris, we'll throw it back to you, and look forward to the next time we get the chance.
Thank you guys from the Cold Case Foundation. I'm really grateful for that insight. Now that we have a little better understanding about trust and why people trust in certain ways, let's talk about Suzanne's trust. You know, when we look at her Facebook page, when we look into her life, we see that she had a lot of interest. Some of those interests are actually listed on her page. But I have another question. What about her family members? Who did they trust? Her father trusted her husband, but who does her husband trust? Well, the only way to find out is to call him. So I did. Hey, Barry, Chris, how are you?
Hey, good.
I appreciate you taking my call. Hey, I saw you recently passing out flyers about your sweet wife, and from the interview room. Yeah.
Excuse me?
Yeah, from the interview.
Why is he acting like he doesn't know him? This is like Don Wells all over again. Chris who? Chris from like how
Right.
many? I mean, I understand Christopher is a popular name. I mean, how many do you really know? I mean, really? Hey, this is Chris. I mean, come on. This was in 2020.
Well, he's got to get his sense of control back, you know, in this conversation.
Such a good point. You tell me who you are. You tell me who you are, Chris who? I'm so busy. Don't I sound like I'm out of breath searching for my wife? Remember 2020.
Interview room. That's all right. So how can I help? I saw you were out passing out flyers and stuff. I thought maybe I could just shoot you up a call here.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I don't recognize you, and I've been burnt by too many people calling me that I don't know, so I'm sorry I can't talk to you.
Okay, so
If I knew who you were and who you were genuine, I would be more than happy to.
oh yeah, no, I'm the guy from the
I've had
Yeah, go ahead.
25 people call me just like you did and just burn me up.
Yeah, not a problem.
I can't trust anybody. Where are you from?
Originally, I'm from North Carolina.
And you live in Salida now?
No, I saw you were passing out flyers in Salida. I'm the guy from the YouTube channel.
Yeah, I don't trust any of the YouTube guys. They just clogged me. So I'm sorry.
Well, no, I get where you're coming from. I'm not trying to put you, in a bad spot. I'm really just trying to help Suzanne.
Yeah, I wish I could trust you, but I'm sorry, I just can't.
What would it take for you to trust me? After the phone call ended, I had to ask myself, why would someone not want the help in finding their wife who had vanished? And why the mistrust for just so many people. Who's then to be trusted to find Suzanne?
He already knew who he was. He said, I'm from the interview room. It's not like Daisy called him. Hey, come on up. I want to help you find. I know you're innocent. Come on up. Come on up there. Everybody knows. Everybody knows. At this point, he's scared. That's the reason he went and talked to Chris. They've already had the introduction.
Mm-hmm.
But he's acting like he doesn't know who he is.
Oh, yeah. Domestic abusers are very insecure people, despite the image they try to portray to others.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's exactly what happened. He already knew who he was. He already told him. He had the introductions. I'm a former detective. I'm going to help you find your wife. I'll know who you are. I've had 25 calls. Oh, really? Well, that should be 25 welcome calls, considering your dumbass put your phone number on the flyer and offered $1 million for your wife's safe return. This man's a former detective, calls you and you're like, sorry, I don't trust you. What does that tell you? Are you telling me
he's scared?
Yeah, he sounded scared. This is not the person he wanted to deal with.
Mm-mm.
As we heard from Dr. Gary, he said these people have got to deal with people they could manipulate. They have to gain their trust. It's not the other way around.
That's right. And ladies, let me tell you, if a man puts their hands on you and they say they'll never do it again, they're going to do it again. They're going to do it again. And when you're in these situations, you never think that that person's going to actually do something to actually physically, seriously harm you or even, eliminate you, for lack of a better term. But, I've seen people act really crazy ways in two different situations: domestic violence, trying to escape, and when there's a death in the family. You never know what people are going to do.
And in this case, it just appears to me, my opinion, the outside looking in, his threat was not losing Suzanne, because he'd already had that threat with her cancer. He wasn't worried about that.
Mm-mm.
He wasn't worried about losing her, because he was, at one time, he was faced with losing her to death. But losing her to legal actions, as in a divorce, is what he wasn't going to have. He already knew he was probably talking to another man.
Yeah, I agree.
That text on May 8th, hence why he didn't give a shit when she got sick.
That speaks volumes.
Because if it's about, now the money would have just gone to him because he's a widower.
Mm-hmm.
But when she said, I'm out of here on May 8th, well, who was out of there was Suzanne on May 10th. But we're supposed to think that a random person saw her on the bicycle trail.
No.
I'm not thinking so.
Mm-mm.
And many other women have gone through it too. Here's just a short list. Sad and senseless. But I want to say thank you very much to our amazing friend Angel P for her amazing insight. She's
Oh,
the person
Lord.
I talk about all the time. I'm like, I owe her a copay.
You're welcome. I don't feel like I helped very much on this one, but I appreciate you having me up.
Well, anytime, my wonderful friend. And I want to say thank you to all of you for being here. I understand Suzanne's case is in the true crime community, it's considered to be outdated, but I still think it's extremely, extremely important. And we need to keep these cases going. Mod Squad, you are amazing. I understand we had a couple of troublemakers in here, but they don't cause trouble for too long.
There you go.
If they're not wearing pink, they can't sit with us. Well, you have a great rest of your hump day. And if I don't see you in Discord, one of the Facebook groups, text with you, whatever, be back tomorrow because we're going to sort out some nonsense in the Sebastian case. And
sounds great.
Sounds great. We're going to have to. Again, you all have a great rest of your hump day. And thank you so much for always being cool, being calm, have an amazing discussion, voicing your opinions, and we respect each other's opinions, unless you're talking about things that are just total friggin' nonsense. And just being the coolest community and chat and friends on these freaking filthy, nasty, rotten YouTube streets. We're out, Angel.
See you guys.